Day 2 marked the first time jurors got to see the deadly shooting from the perspective of the man on trial. Christopher Hess is charged with aggravated assault by a public servant, which could land the 42-year-old in prison for life. After watching body cam from 3 different officers, jurors Wednesday watched 2 more angles, including when Hess opened fire a dozen times, killing 21-year-old Genevive Dawes. Prosecutors reminded jurors that Hess violated Dallas police use of force policy, which forbids officers from firing into a moving or fleeing vehicle unless it's necessary to prevent imminent death or injury to an officer, something prosecutors say was not at play when Dawes was backing up her vehicle. Jurors also heard Wednesday from the 911 caller that brought officers to the Dallas apartment complex in January 2017. Joe Samples lived there, and when officers arrived, he said he stayed outside and watched them repeatedly try to get Dawes and her passenger to comply before she rammed a DPD cruiser, smashed into a fence, and then backed out again.
I honestly don't know if she even knew the officers were back there. Okay. I think she was just trying to get out of there.
Defense attorneys countered, getting Samples to admit that he was worried about the behavior of whoever was in that car, failing to respond to officers at all.
You were concerned about the decisions she was making that night, weren't you?
Well, of course I was, yeah. And then when she did it the second time, I thought, and it's what I thought, who are these people? What have you done?
As prosecutors approach wrapping their case, we expect Christopher Hess to provide perhaps the most important testimony in his own defense before the week is over. In Dallas, I'm David Goins.